was a quiet night. The streets were empty and the cold wind touched every corner of the small town. John, an ordinary man with an ordinary life, walked back home after a long day at work. He carried nothing but a tired body, a heavy mind, and a small flashlight. But that night, something was different. As John passed by the old forest road, he heard it. A sound. Not the sound of cars, not the sound of birds, but something strange. It was soft at first, almost like a whisper. Then it grew louder, shaking leaves, snapping branches. John stopped. He raised his flashlight toward the trees. The beam of light moved slowly across the dark forest, and then his heart skipped a beat. Two small figures were hiding between the trees. At first, John thought they were children from the town. Lost, maybe, but as the light touched their faces, he froze. Their skin glowed faintly, like moonlight trapped inside. Their eyes were large, shining with fear and innocence. These were not human children. John's breath caught in his throat. Before he could take a step closer, another noise filled the night. Heavy boots, rough voices, the sound of something or someone hunting. The two glowing children looked at John, eyes wide, trembling. They did not speak, but in that single moment, John understood their fear. They were running from someone dangerous. The voices grew louder. Strange men, tall and armed, moved through the forest. Their steps were sharp, their eyes scanning the ground. Hunters. John had two choices. Walk away or help. His heart raced. He knew if he stepped in, he could die. But if he left these children, they would surely be caught. And something deep inside told him, this was not just about two children. This was bigger. The decision was made in seconds. Come here, John whispered, his voice urgent but gentle. He waved them closer. The children hesitated, their glowing eyes studying him. But the voices of the hunters pushed them forward. They ran to John, their small bodies shaking with fear. Without wasting another second, John pulled them behind an old stone wall near the road. He crouched down, holding his breath. The hunters arrived. There were 3 of them dressed in dark armor, carrying weapons that hummed with strange energy. Their faces were hidden by masks, their eyes scanning the night with cold precision. One of them bent down, touching the ground. He saw the footprints. They are close, the hunter growled in a deep metallic voice. John felt his chest tighten. The children pressed against him, their glowing bodies trembling. He could hear their quick breaths. He prayed the hunters would not look behind the wall. Seconds felt like hours. The hunters spread out. One of them walked so close that John could smell the strange metal on his armor. The beam of their scanner passed just inches from John's face. The children held their breath. So did John. Finally, the hunters moved away, deeper into the forest. John let out a slow, shaky exhale. He turned to the children. Their big eyes stared at him, filled with trust. Without speaking a single word, they had chosen him. But John knew this was only the beginning. He whispered, "Follow me. Stay quiet." The children nodded, understanding his tone, if not his words. John led them away from the road, keeping to the shadows. Every step was careful. Every sound made his heart race. Behind him, the children followed, their faint glow hidden under the dark night. Once a twig snapped under his boot and John froze. Far in the distance, a hunter turned his head, listening, but after a long pause, the hunter moved on. John and the children slipped past an abandoned shed, crawled under broken fences, and crossed a field. The night was endless, but somehow they managed to stay unseen. Finally, John reached the back of his small house. He unlocked the door with shaking hands, pushed it open, and waved the children inside. The moment the door closed, silence filled the room. John leaned against the wall, catching his breath. The children stood in the middle of the room, their glowing eyes looking at everything with curiosity. They seemed both scared and amazed. For the first time since he saw them, John spoke in a calmer voice. "You're safe now." Of course, he knew they did not understand, but his tone was enough. The children gave a small nod as if they felt his meaning. John's mind spun with questions. Who were these children? Where did they come from? And who were those hunters? One thing was clear. His life would never be the same. And outside, in the darkness of the night, far away in the forest, the hunters were still searching. Their voices echoed faintly through the trees. The hunt was not over, and John had just become part of it. The night had not ended for John. Inside his small house, the air was heavy with silence. The two alien children sat close together on the couch, their glowing skin dimming as if they were trying to hide their light. John stood near the window, peeking through the curtains again and again. He could still hear faint echoes in the forest, voices, machines, the hunters searching. His heart beat faster. He had brought the children home, but now what? He was just an ordinary man. No weapons, no plan. If those hunters came here, he could not fight them. And yet, when he looked at the children, their large, innocent eyes filled with fear and trust, he knew he had no choice. He had to protect them. The smaller child suddenly touched John's hand. The touch was warm, strange, almost electric. The child pointed toward the door, then made a motion like running. John frowned. Did they want to leave? No. They were trying to warn him. Someone was coming. Before John could react, a sharp knock rattled the door. His blood froze. Then came a voice, deep, metallic, almost inhuman. We know you are inside. Give them to us now. John felt his stomach twist. He looked back at the children. They pressed themselves deeper into the couch, their glowing bodies shaking. He shook his head, whispering, Stay here. Don't move. The knocking grew louder. Bang, bang, bang. Then the sound of something scraping against the door, metal on wood. They were trying to break in. John's mind raced. He needed to act fast. He ran to the back door, opened it quietly, and signaled to the children. Their eyes widened, but they obeyed. They ran to him, their small glowing hands clutching his arms. He led them outside into the cold night. The hunters broke through the front door just as John disappeared into the shadows of his backyard. He crouched low, moving quickly with the children. The ground was wet, the air full of fog. Behind them, the hunters shouted. Strange beams of red light scanned the area, cutting through the mist. John guided the children behind a wooden fence, then into a narrow alley between two houses. He could hear heavy footsteps following. His chest burned from running, but he didn't stop. Suddenly, one of the hunters appeared at the end of the alley, blocking the way. His armor glowed faintly, and in his hands was a weapon unlike anything John had ever seen. The hunter raised it slowly, pointing it straight at them. John's breath caught. He pushed the children behind him. His mind screamed, This is it. We're finished. But then something unbelievable happened. The older child stepped forward, raising a small glowing hand. A bright pulse of light shot out, striking the weapon. Sparks flew and the gun shut down instantly. The hunter staggered back, shocked. His helmet turned toward the child in disbelief. John did not wait. He grabbed both children and ran past the stunned hunter. His legs moved faster than ever before. Adrenaline carried him forward street after street until the houses thinned and they reached the edge of town. Breathing hard, he ducked into an old abandoned barn. The smell of hay and dust filled the air. John pushed the children inside and shut the door. For a moment, the only sound was his own ragged breathing. The children looked at him, their glowing eyes filled with worry, but also something else. Hope. They trusted him completely now. John knelt down, whispering, Oh, what are they? Why do they want you? But of course, the children did not understand. Still, the older one stepped closer and touched John's chest right over his heart. Then, with a slow motion, pointed toward the sky. John understood only one thing: they were not from here. And whoever these hunters were, they wanted the children for a reason far beyond his imagination. Before he could think further, a loud crash echoed outside. The hunters had tracked them again. Red lights swept across the field, moving closer. John's heart pounded. He looked around the barn, searching for anything to defend them. His eyes fell on an old metal pipe leaning against the wall. It wasn't much, but it was something. He grabbed it, holding it tight. The door burst open. A hunter stepped inside, his armor shining in the dim light. His weapon glowed, ready to fire. John stood tall, pipe in hand, blocking the children with his body. His legs trembled, but he did not move aside. The hunter raised his weapon, and then the children acted again. Both of them lifted their hands together, their bodies glowing brighter than ever. A wave of light burst out, filling the barn like a storm. The hunter was thrown back, crashing into the dirt outside. His weapon shattered. John stared, stunned. The children had saved him. For the first time that night, John realized they were not helpless. They had power. Power unlike anything on Earth. But he also knew the danger was far from over. More hunters would come. Stronger ones. He dropped the pipe and whispered, We can't stay here. We need to keep moving. The children nodded. Their glow dimmed again, hiding their power for now. And so, in the middle of the cold, endless night, John led the alien children once more into the shadows. His body was weak, but his spirit burned strong. He was not just running anymore. He was fighting. The rescue had only just begun. The barn was behind them now, left in silence and broken wood. John moved carefully through the fields, the alien children following close behind. The night stretched long and endless, filled with the distant hum of machines searching. Every few minutes a strange red beam swept across the land, forcing them to drop low into the grass. John's heart was heavy with fear, but he pushed forward. The children needed him. He did not understand why, but he knew it. Their glowing faces reminded him of helpless birds hiding from wolves. If he failed, those hunters would take them, and the world would never be the same again. At last, he spotted a small cabin near the river. It looked old, maybe abandoned, with broken windows and a roof that sagged under years of storms. It wasn't safe, but it was shelter. He guided the children inside. The cabin smelled of dust and old wood. The wind whistled through cracks in the walls. There was no light except the faint glow coming from the children. John shut the door, leaned against it, and listened. Nothing. No footsteps. No voices. For the first time that night, there was silence. The children curled up together on the floor, their glow dimming as if they could control it. They looked tired, so very tired. John found an old blanket in the corner and placed it gently over them. They blinked at him with wide silver eyes. One of them gave a small, strange sound, almost like a hum. It was soft, musical, and for some reason, it eased the pounding in John's chest. He sat by the window, watching the dark trees. His mind spun. Who were these children? Why had fate placed them in his path? And what was that terrifying power they had shown in the barn? The hum from the child grew louder, and John turned. To his surprise, the glow of the children began to change. Shapes formed in the air above them, shapes of stars, of worlds far away. It was like a silent story told with light. John stared, breathless. He saw a planet, beautiful and shining, then saw fire, destruction, war. He saw tall figures that looked like the hunters, chasing, destroying. Then the vision shifted to a ship, a great silver ship fleeing into the void. And on that ship, the children, John understood. They were survivors, refugees. And the hunters were not just chasing children, they were hunting the last hope of a people. The vision faded. The children's glow dimmed again, and they fell asleep, their breathing soft and steady. John sat in the dark, unable to move. He felt small, powerless. He was just one man hiding in a broken cabin with two alien children, while somewhere outside, enemies far stronger than him searched every corner of the land. Then, a sound. It was faint at first, like the crackle of leaves. Then came footsteps. Slow, heavy, careful. They stopped just outside the cabin. John's hand tightened around a broken piece of wood he had found earlier. His throat went dry, the door creaked. A shadow passed over the crack in the wood. John held his breath. The children stirred, glowing faintly again. Their light spilled into the cabin, and John cursed silently. It would give them away. The footsteps moved again. Around the side of the cabin this time, a beam of red light flashed briefly through a window. John ducked, pulling the blanket tighter over the children. For a long moment, silence returned. Then slowly, the footsteps faded away into the trees. John let out a shaky breath. His hands trembled. The hunters were close, too close. It was only a matter of time before they found this place. He looked at the children. They were still asleep, their small faces calm, unaware of the danger just outside. John knew he couldn't let them rest for long. The cabin was only a pause, not safety. The night dragged on. Hours passed like days. John's eyelids grew heavy, but fear kept him awake. He listened to the forest, to every sound, to every shift in the wind. At one point, he thought he saw lights far in the distance. Strange, hovering lights that were not stars. He didn't know if they belonged to the hunters or to something else entirely. He shut the window quickly, not wanting to find out. Finally, as dawn began to push its first gray light across the horizon, the children stirred awake. They sat up, blinking, their glow brighter now. One of them reached for John's hand, squeezing it gently. Their eyes, though alien, spoke clearly. "Thank you." John felt something stir inside him. Courage. He wasn't just running anymore. He was guarding something precious, something the world could not afford to lose. But outside in the cold morning mist, the hunt was still alive. Somewhere beyond the trees, the hunters had not given up. They were waiting, watching, closing in, and John knew the silent night was only a brief breath before the storm to come. The first light of dawn spread across the sky, turning the mist over the forest into a silver sea. John sat on the cabin floor, his back against the wall, too tired to move. His eyes were red from staying awake, but his grip on the broken wood stick never loosened. The children had finally woken. Their soft glow filled the small cabin, brighter now in the daylight. They stretched their small arms, looked around with curious eyes, and then looked at John. They did not speak, but John felt the meaning in their gaze. They trusted him. He managed a tired smile. "Morning," he whispered, though he knew they didn't understand. But peace lasted only minutes. A loud sound shook the ground, a low, distant hum that grew deeper and stronger, like thunder rolling through the sky. John jumped to his feet, rushing to the window. The children ran to his side, their glowing eyes wide with both fear and hope. At first, John thought it was another hunting machine. But then, breaking through the clouds, a massive shape appeared. His breath caught. It was a ship, silver and black, larger than any aircraft he had ever seen. It moved slowly, majestically, descending toward the forest. The hum rattled every wall of the cabin. The children pressed their glowing hands against the glass. Their eyes sparkled with emotion. John whispered, "Is that your ship?" The ship settled in the clearing not far from the cabin. Trees shook and fell as it landed. Dust and leaves filled the air. Then the hum faded, leaving only silence and the sharp cry of crows taking flight. John's heart pounded. Was this rescue or another trap? Before he could decide, the cabin door creaked open on its own. John froze, his grip tightening on the stick. But it was not the hunters. It was light. A soft golden light filled the doorway, bright but gentle, warm like sunlight. And then she appeared. Tall, graceful, and unlike anything John had ever seen, the figure stepped into the cabin. Her skin glowed brighter than the children's, like a living star. Her eyes were deep silver, full of wisdom and sorrow. Her hair flowed like strands of light. She moved with a power that felt ancient, but her gaze was soft and kind. The children cried out, running to her. She bent down, wrapping them in her arms. For a moment, John could see it clearly. She was their mother. He lowered the stick, breathless. The alien mother raised her head, looking at him. For a second, John felt as if his very soul was under her gaze. It was not human, but it was not cruel. It was thankful. Without speaking, she lifted a hand. A faint glow spread across the room. John's tired body relaxed. The pain in his muscles faded. The pounding in his chest eased. It felt as if a wave of calm had washed over him. Her voice came not through sound, but directly into his mind. "You saved my children." John staggered, his mouth opening in shock. You can speak?" "Not in your way," the voice replied gently. "But you can hear me." The children clung to her, whispering strange sounds. She stroked their glowing heads before turning back to John. "You risked your life. For them. For me. You are not like the others." John shook his head slowly. "The hunters, they're still out there. They want you. They won't stop." Her silver eyes darkened with sorrow. "Yes, they destroyed our home. They will not stop until they destroy every last one of us." John swallowed hard. He was standing in the middle of something far greater than himself. A war he could not even imagine. The alien mother rose to her full height. She reached into the air, and from the light around her something began to form. A crystal. Small, glowing, pulsing with energy. She held it out to John. "Take this, a gift. A bond between us." John stared at the crystal, uncertain. What is it?" "Hope," the voice whispered inside his head. "Power to heal. Power to protect. It is yours now because you chose kindness when you could have walked away." His hand trembled as he accepted it. The crystal was warm, almost alive. The moment he touched it, visions flashed in his mind. Stars, planets, battles, and something else, himself, standing in the middle of a storm, holding the crystal high as worlds turned their eyes toward him. He gasped and almost dropped it. I don't understand." "You will," the mother said softly. "In time." Before he could ask more, the earth shook again. This time, not from her ship. Red beams lit the sky. The hunters were coming, faster, closer, angrier than before. The alien mother's glow flared, her silver eyes burning like fire. She placed the children behind her and stepped forward, her voice echoing like thunder inside John's mind. Stay close to me. The battle is not finished. John clutched the crystal in his hand. His fear was still there, but something new burned inside him, strength. The next day had come. But it was not peace. It was the beginning of a war. The clearing shook with chaos. The alien mother stood tall, her glow burning brighter than the morning sun. Around her, the forest echoed with the growl of engines and the heavy steps of armored hunters. They were closing in, red beams cutting through the mist, weapons humming with deadly energy. John clutched the crystal she had given him. It pulsed in his hand like a beating heart. Every throb filled his chest with strange warmth, as if the stone was alive, whispering secrets he could not yet understand. The children pressed close to their mother, their glowing eyes locked on John. They were not afraid anymore. They believed he could stand with them. That trust alone made his legs steady, even as fear screamed in the back of his mind. The first hunter burst through the trees, weapon raised. His mask gleamed, his voice cold. Give them to us now. The alien mother did not move. Her eyes flared, and with a single wave of her hand, the ground shook. Roots tore from the earth, wrapping around the hunter's legs. He roared, trying to break free, but the earth held him like iron chains. Another hunter appeared, firing a beam of red energy. It streaked across the clearing straight toward her. But before it could strike, the crystal in John's hand blazed with light. His arm moved without thought, lifting it high. A glowing shield burst forth, the beam scattering like sparks against stone. John gasped. The shield faded as quickly as it had formed, but the hunters had seen it. Their cold voices rose with anger. The alien mother turned to him, her voice echoing inside his mind. You see now. The gift is not just an object. It is part of you. John shook his head in disbelief. I can't do this. I'm just a man. Her eyes softened, silver and endless. You are a man who chose to protect the helpless. That is greater than any weapon. The hunters regrouped, forming a circle around the clearing. Their weapons glowed brighter, humming with deadly force. More machines rolled out of the trees, their wheels crushing the earth. The air vibrated with their power. John's throat went dry. They were outnumbered, surrounded. He glanced at the children. Their small faces glowed with quiet faith. He could not run now, not after everything. The alien mother raised both hands. Light poured from her body, bright and fierce. The forest lit up as if a star had descended to the earth. The hunters stumbled, blinded, but they did not retreat. They raised their weapons, aiming at her and the children. John stepped forward. His heart pounded. The crystal burned in his hand. He raised it again, and this time he did not resist the power. Light surged from it, flowing through him like fire and lightning combined. His body trembled, but he stood tall. A dome of shimmering light expanded from the crystal, wrapping around him the mother and the children. Beams of red energy struck the dome, but they bent away, scattering harmlessly into the trees. The hunters shouted in anger. They fired again and again, but nothing could break through. John felt the strain in his body, the heat burning his skin, but he held on. He had never felt such strength and such pain. The alien mother placed a hand on his shoulder. Instantly, the burning eased. Her voice filled his mind again. We are stronger together. You are not alone. The hunters grew desperate. One of them barked an order, and a larger machine rolled forward, its weapon glowing like a sun. The ground shook as it aimed at the dome. John's chest tightened. He knew if that blast hit, even the crystal shield might not hold. The alien mother stepped in front of him. She closed her eyes, her glow intensifying until the air hummed with energy. The children raised their small hands, joining her. Together they poured their power into John. The crystal flared like a star about to explode. The machine fired. The world vanished in white light. When John opened his eyes, the clearing was silent. The hunters were gone, thrown into the forest like broken dolls. Their machines lay shattered, smoking, their power dead. The dome of light faded. John fell to his knees, gasping for air, the crystal still glowing faintly in his palm. He looked at the alien mother in awe. She was tired, her glow dimmer now, but her eyes still shone with strength. She knelt beside him. Now you understand. This gift is not a weapon, it is a bond. With it, you can protect not only us but your own world as well. For the hunters will not stop here. They will come for Earth too. John's stomach twisted. Earth? Humanity? The thought of those armored killers marching through his world made his blood run cold. The alien mother stood, her children holding her hands. She looked down at John with a mix of sorrow and pride. "You are chosen now, whether you wish it or not." John stared at the crystal, its soft glow reflecting in his eyes. He whispered almost to himself, "What have I become?" But deep inside he already knew. He was no longer just an ordinary man. He was the keeper of a gift that could change everything. And far beyond the trees, in the shadows of space, more hunters were waiting. The forest was quiet after the battle. Smoke rose from the broken machines, their twisted parts glowing faintly in the dim light. The hunters had been defeated, but the silence did not bring peace. John stood in the clearing, the crystal still pulsing in his hand, his body trembling from exhaustion. The alien mother placed a hand on his shoulder. Her silver eyes studied him carefully. She spoke inside his mind again. "You did well, but this was only the beginning." John swallowed hard. His throat felt dry. "Only the beginning?" She nodded, her glow dimmer than before. "They are not gone. What you faced here were only scouts. More will come, stronger, smarter. They will not stop." John's stomach sank. If these were just scouts, what would the real army look like? The children clung to their mother, whispering softly in their strange tongue. John watched them, his chest tightening. He had risked his life for them, and now he realized the cost could be far greater than he imagined. He looked at the crystal in his hand. It glowed faintly alive, but it felt heavier now, as if it carried not only power but also responsibility. He asked quietly, "Why give this to me? Why not keep it for yourself? You're stronger than me." The alien mother lowered her head slightly. "Because my strength is fading. The hunters took much from me. My children will need someone who can protect them, someone who has a heart strong enough to carry the gift." John froze. Her words hit him like a storm. Was she saying what he thought? That she might not survive? Before he could answer, the ground shook again. This time the sound was different, louder, deeper, heavier. The trees swayed as if a giant was walking through them. Birds burst from the branches in panic. The alien mother turned sharply, her eyes glowing brighter. "They are here." From the shadows of the forest, new shapes appeared. These hunters were not like the ones before. Their armor was darker, thicker, their weapons larger and more advanced. Strange red symbols glowed on their chests, pulsing like fire. Behind them came towering machines, taller than houses, their eyes burning like coals. John's mouth went dry. "Oh my God." The leader of the hunters stepped forward. His mask was different, marked with jagged lines that seemed to burn into the air itself. His voice cut through the clearing like metal scraping stone. "Human, you carry what is not yours. Hand over the crystal and your death will be quick." John gripped the crystal tighter, his hands shaking. The children whimpered, hiding behind their mother. The alien mother stepped forward, her body glowing, though weaker than before. "You will not have them," she said, her voice echoing like thunder. The hunter leader laughed, the sound cold and hollow. "You cannot fight us all, even with your gift." The hunters raised their weapons in unison. The air hummed with deadly energy. John's heart pounded. His mind screamed at him to run, to hide, to give up. But then he looked at the children, their wide silver eyes filled with fear. He remembered the moment he first saw them in the forest, trembling and alone. He remembered the trust in their eyes. He raised the crystal. Light blazed out, forming a shield around him and the family. The hunters' weapons fired, beams slamming into the shield, shaking it violently. John gritted his teeth, his whole body burning as the power surged through him. But this time something was different. The crystal's light flickered, weaker than before. The shield trembled, cracks forming like glass under pressure. John gasped. It's not holding." The alien mother stepped beside him, adding her power. Her glow merged with the crystal's light, strengthening the shield. But John could see the strain in her face. She was giving everything she had. The hunter leader raised a massive weapon, aiming directly at them. The ground shook as it charged with red energy. John knew that if it fired, nothing would survive. He turned to the mother. "We can't stop them." "Not like this." Her eyes met his, calm but filled with sorrow. "There is a way, but it will cost everything." Before John could ask, she pressed her hand against the crystal in his palm. A surge of energy exploded through him. His vision blurred as the world turned white. He felt her strength, her memories, her very life pouring into him. "No, stop," he shouted. But her voice echoed inside him one last time. Protect them. Protect the gift. The light faded. The mother collapsed to her knees, her glow flickering like a dying flame. The children cried out, rushing to her side. John stared in horror. The hunters advanced, their weapons humming. But the crystal in his hand burned brighter than ever before, alive with new power. He felt her inside it, her strength, her spirit, her sacrifice. The hunter leader lowered his weapon, his voice cold. So the human becomes the guardian. How amusing. Let us see how long you last. John stood, the crystal blazing in his grasp. His fear had not vanished, but something greater now filled him. Determination, rage, duty. He faced the army, his voice steady for the first time. If you want them, you'll have to go through me. The hunters roared, their machines stepping forward, weapons charging, and the battle for survival began again. The clearing burned with fire and smoke. The hunters closed in, their weapons glowing red like the eyes of demons. Behind John, the alien children cried out, holding their weakened mother. Her light flickered like a dying flame, her strength nearly gone. John's heart hammered. He felt the crystal pulsing in his palm, hotter than ever before. It burned, but it also filled him with something fierce, power, energy, a will that was not only his own. He felt her inside it, the mother's voice whispering through the storm. Protect them. Stand strong. The hunter leader raised his weapon high. You are only a man. This ends now. John lifted the crystal. A beam of pure light erupted, brighter than the sun. The ground shook as the blast met the hunter's fire, exploding in a storm of energy. The shockwave knocked trees flat and hurled machines onto their sides. But John did not fall. He stood in the middle of the storm, light wrapping around him like armor. The hunters pressed forward, firing again and again, but the beams bent away, scattering like sparks into the sky. The children watched with wide silver eyes, their small hands pressed together as if praying. For the first time, John realized they weren't afraid anymore. They believed in him. The hunter leader snarled, his mask cracking with fury. He leapt forward faster than John expected, his weapon glowing with deadly energy. John raised the crystal, but the leader struck first. The blast ripped through the air, breaking the shield apart. John was thrown back, crashing into the dirt. Pain shot through his body. The crystal rolled from his hand, dimming as it hit the ground. The leader towered over him, his weapon aimed at John's chest. It is over. John's vision blurred. His body screamed in pain. But then, through the haze, he saw them, the children holding their mother, their eyes glowing brighter than ever. They weren't running. They weren't hiding. They were standing, facing the hunter with silent courage. Something inside John broke, or perhaps something awakened. He dragged himself forward, his fingers reaching for the crystal. The hunter leader raised his weapon to strike the final blow, and then the children acted. They joined hands, their glow fusing together in a brilliant burst. The light flowed into the crystal, and in an instant it blazed like a star reborn. The power surged through John, lifting him to his feet. His body no longer felt weak. He stood tall, the light wrapping around him completely, not just a shield but armor, shining, unstoppable. The hunter leader hesitated, stepping back. For the first time there was fear in his cold voice. What are you? John's voice thundered through the clearing. A man. And that's enough. With a roar, he raised the crystal. A wave of energy exploded outward, consuming the hunters and their machines. The ground split, fire and light tearing through the forest. The hunters screamed as they were thrown into the void, their weapons shattering, their machines crumbling into ash. When the light finally faded, the clearing was empty. The hunters were gone. The machines destroyed. Only silence remained. John fell to his knees, gasping for air. The crystal dimmed, its light softer now, but still alive. He looked at it, trembling. He had survived. They had survived. The alien mother lay weak, her glow fading. She looked at John with tired silver eyes. You are the guardian now. The crystal has chosen you. John shook his head. I can't. I'm not a hero, but her faint smile told him otherwise. A hero is not chosen by power. A hero is chosen by choice, and you chose us. The children hugged him, their small, glowing arms wrapping around his neck. John felt warmth fill his chest. For the first time he believed her, but peace did not last. Above the trees the clouds shifted. The sky darkened. Far in the distance lights appeared. Dozens, no hundreds of them. Ships. Hunter ships. descending like a storm across the horizon. John's blood ran cold. He clutched the crystal tighter. This battle was only the first. The real war was coming. The alien mother closed her eyes, her last words echoing inside his mind. They will come for Earth, and you must be ready. John looked at the sky, at the endless swarm of red lights. Fear twisted in his stomach, but he stood tall. The crystal pulsed in his hand, alive, waiting. The story of a simple man was over. A new story, a story of war, of survival, of hope, was only beginning. And somewhere in the shadows of space, the hunters whispered his name. The guardian of Earth,